Right into the next item. We're going to wait about 2 minutes, if that's okay. And we're going to start a public hearing on the transfer station fee setup. Okay, so if everybody sit tight for 2 minutes, we'll get started again. There you can end recording on that. Good evening again. So I'd like to call to order the public hearing for the revision of transfer station fees. So of course, the way this runs is if you're interested in making comments, I'd like you to tell us who you are, what your address is. I'll give the big picture of what it is. Obviously, there are a couple things that we're making changes in the actual transfer fee worksheet. First was to codify the food scrap program, which was $1 for a tip for a bucket. And the second is to create really a kind of a sliding scale for the larger couches. As you can imagine, you get a sleeper sofa, that thing's pretty heavy. So instead of just, outright weighing it for 25 cents a pound, which is what is most municipal solid waste, we've created where it can go up to $35. So it's $25 to $35 for that kind of couch. So with that, I'll open it up for public comment. Yes, sir.
Hello again, Matt Knickerbocker, 10 Colonial Drive. I want to speak in favor of the new price that's being proposed. I think it's been about 10 years since the prices were last adjusted when we revamped the entire fee structure of the transfer station. So 10 years ago, the tipping fee to remove municipal waste was in the neighborhood of $46 to $50 per ton. Today, it ranges from $98 to $120 per ton. That's 2 to 2.5 times what it was, with no change in our fee. And it's imperative that the town be able to collect enough revenue to offer this valuable service. It's a very well-run facility, great benefit to the town, but it has to at least break even. And this is a reality. Nobody likes to pay more, but a dime per pound more is not gonna is not onerous in any way, shape, or form. It will help us achieve that goal. And I do want to say, I want to congratulate you on moving forward with the food scrap program. So I've used it for 2 months now. And I was talking to Pete about it the last time I was there, because he knows what everybody pays. He memorizes that. And I'm paying anywhere from a half to a third less by taking that bucket and offloading it. Even when I finish the punch card and I have to pay $1 for that, it's still going to save at least a third from my bill. And it's something that the rest of the state needs to model on. So I will speak in favor of that price change. It's necessary, and I hope you will proceed.
And one quick question for you, so just to make sure. We haven't changed the price of the municipal solid waste. It's just for the couches.
Yes.
Okay, because I wanted to make sure you didn't think we were going to 35 cents a pound.
No.
Or anything. Okay,
No.
Outstanding. And I think it's fair for the record if you might state what else you're involved in this industry, because that's important to your credibility for what you're speaking on.
I am a board member and the current chairman of Housatonic Resource Recovery Authority. I also am the co-chair of CCM's Environment and Energy Committee, and I'm co-chair of State of Connecticut's Sustainable Management Committee that it was formed by Commissioner Katie Dykes-Satee. So I'm kind of up to my ears in it. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for the comments. Next, anybody? I think she had your hand first.
Nancy Ryan, 25 Walnut Hill Road. Just a question, clarification in the fee schedule. You're not raising, when we bring stuff in and it gets weighed, you're not raising that. You're looking at the big solid stuff, sofas and things like that. That's
Right.
where the fees are. And
Right.
then,
And the food scrap.
and the food scrap is going to become, instead of a punch card, it's each time you come, you pay $1.
Right.
For your bucket of.
The way the punch cards worked, originally when we started the program, we were incentivizing folks to buy one of the green buckets
Right.
with the internal piece. And then to do that, we were giving away a $20 punch card for 20 dumps, which is $20,
Yeah.
kind of offset that. So
Right.
we did need to codify what the price would be, at least now, per bucket, since we're putting out the new transfer station permits.
Right.
So that's why we've set it at $1 per bucket.
And the bucket the green, the green buckets, but you can use your own bucket if you had a.
You can use your own bucket.
Joint count bucket.
Yep.
But you're still paying $1 each time you dump it.
Yes,
Thanks.
you're very welcome.
Bill Michael, 27.5 Fleetwood Avenue. What does it cost to get rid of the poundage of organic food waste from everybody's kitchen that's using?
Yeah. Well, you ready for this? To be honest, we're not sure yet. This is a new pilot program, as you know. We received a $42,000 grant from the state for the program. So far, it's not cost us anything. And what we're trying to do right now is to really work out the kinks to see what this will cost us. We know that, we're giving, well, I think we're what, you probably even know the numbers better than I do. What are we, 500 pounds per week, I think we're getting rid of now? Something like that?
Closer to 800.
Is it 800?
Yeah.
So it's growing large, it's growing quickly in Bethel. We really don't know the outcome yet. That'll be something we'll be looking at towards the spring. And frankly, we have to make a decision if we're going to carry on the program.
Well, if it loses money, what happens then? If the amount of, if the, you know what I'm saying, if the cost that people are paying, if the dollar
Yeah.
doesn't pay for all the food waste, what happens then?
Yeah. Well, honestly, if we find ourselves right now, the food scrap or the municipal waste program itself doesn't break even totally in town. If we find that we're losing money on this, we may have to look at adjusting the municipal solid waste, charge. Maybe we have to go up on that. Maybe we don't do the program. But it's important to know that this type of program is going to be mandated by the state. And many times they've said it's by 2028. And already residents are actually seeing a reduction in their fees. So I think it's a good program, but we're going to have to wait to really ferret out the costs. Because again, it's a pilot program. We don't,
Like the cost
Yeah.
of moving, you got the dumpster that's gotta be moved somewhere. When
There-
this truck,
yeah, so what
Yes.
they have is they have, we have like 4 big buckets, kind of like those huge garbage cans.
Yeah.
And they dump the waste. And right now we're using 2 of those a week. They come, they pick them up weekly.
that's it, I'll say,
Yeah.
so we're gonna have to pay for the grants, there's someone paying, we gotta pay the drivers.
Oh, yeah.
You gotta pay, and then what happens,
Yeah.
where does it go? Where does the
So-
food waste go?
So right now it goes to compost. There's a company that takes it for compost.
Yeah.
And so, yes, we're gonna have to pay to get rid of it. The long-term goal may be for us to do something like Ridgefield does, where we actually compost it here. We're looking at that opportunity in the spring to see, well, we're gonna start by getting compost. So the people who have the program right now can get free compost. And then we're hoping to start our own composting program where now we don't have to pay for those folks to drive it away. We have a compost program here and then we can give it to our residents.
Look, but when you get free compost, how do you get the free compost?
You come by and you're gonna probably pick it up. We don't know how much every resident gets yet, but you're gonna pick it up in a bucket or
We're
whatever.
gonna bring it back from,
We're gonna get our free compost from Ridgefield.
but they gotta bring it back. They bring the compost back? or
They're
the
gonna, no, so what's gonna happen is we're gonna probably go over in one of our trucks. And we're gonna pick up compost and bring it over for the residents. We're gonna pick up a large dump truck full. And we're gonna leave it here for our residents to encourage us to start our own composting
That
program.
sounds so crazy, you put compost in your backyard.
Yeah.
I've been making compost in my backyard since my
Well-
grandfather's been here in 1929.
There-
Now we got the
Really?
government
I,
making compost that goes to Richfield,
Well-
then you bring it back. And then what happens if we have less garbage? What's the threshold of waste that has to go out? Isn't there a penalty if we don't produce enough garbage from these?
no,
There's no penalty.
none that I know of.
They got rid of the penalty?
Huh,
Well, you know, it's funny, when you're talking about the tipping fees, I was at that meeting when they were discussing the incinerator. When the smartest people in HRRA, CRRA all said to us, it's gonna cost $400 a ton to get rid of garbage. And these were the smartest people, Pepco, all the experts sitting in that room. I got that on videotape. And now, what is it, $90 a ton, did Matt say? Imagine, we were told it was gonna be 400 if we didn't build an incinerator. I think I think the program itself is a kook program. Moving, good, little people are gonna do this. Now, maybe there are people, Matt would be one of them, maybe Nancy are. I don't see why you don't do it in your yard and put it on your garden in your yard without having to involve all these government programs to do it. So I think the fee should be more. I think the fee should be higher to reflect the cost of this thing. Because right now, I'm just looking at the cost of moving the food waste. We're not paying someone to die. It's like me going on a heart bus through New Milford for 75 cents.
Mhm.
Well, because everybody else is paying for it. You can say, oh, I saved money on my bill because well, everybody's gonna pay. Anyway, you can imagine as a libertarian, I think that this is ridiculous. Anyway,
Fair enough.
I'm gonna vote against the motion for the $1. I'm gonna vote against the $35 for the couch. And I want the fees to be higher for the food.
Thank you. Actually, okay, you were next.
Cynthia McCorkle, 19 Elgin Avenue. So I'm just gonna pick up where Billy left off, because I think it's a little kooky. I think it's a little bit. Oh, well, let me ask you this, how much is it per pound to throw away trash now?
25 cents.
25 cents, so that means you'd have to bring in 4 pounds of food scraps. Like that, that would be.
Okay, yeah,
Right,
$5
for the dollar.
Yeah.
So, and I'm just trying to picture
$5.
what a bucket of food scraps would weigh.
Yeah.
But, you know, it reminds me a little bit about the false promise of recycling. Where people are still throwing their tuna fish cans in the garbage. I mean, there's, you know, some people are really diligent with their blue bucket and they put stuff in there. And most people, to me, it sounds like, and first of all, I'm always suspicious of grants, always, because the money runs out and then you are with your food scraps. And the idea of it, I bet, appeals to a lot of people. But it really just seems, it's sort of like now you have something else to sort out. And you're bringing it to Ridgefield. Are you sort of handing in the scraps and they give you compost in return?
No, the scraps do not go to Ridgefield right now. They get picked up by a company that takes them
Oh,
to a composting
but you
company.
get free compost from
But we're gonna,
Ridgefield?
because we're part of HRA and the program, we're gonna get free
Okay.
compost. as
And
part
you
of
would
this.
be using that on town landscape?
No, we're gonna give it to the residents who are part of the food scrap program. And then
Oh.
eventually the goal is to do our own composting program, because a lot of folks can't do it in the yard. Like, they worry about the
Right,
animals and
I'm
worry about
just
that, so
wondering
they,
How
yeah.
people, see, here's the funny thing to me. On the one hand, there's this big drive towards multi-unit dwellings. And then at the same time, you're having a food composting program where people will bring their compost, what to put in their flower pots I mean, nobody's going in their backyard growing seeds
Yeah.
except for Billy's money. You know, that's where I get my vegetables. Anyway, that's just how I feel.
Okay,
Thanks.
Tim Beagle, 63 Grassy Plain Street. And I'm kind of looking at it the other way. When we started the recycling program down at the transfer station, it was free. And so there was great incentive for the residents to separate out their recyclables. And I'm not talking about the blue bin, because those are people who pay haulers to do it. But if you're going down to the transfer station, you're taking your glass and cans and plastic out because you don't want to pay 25 cents a pound for them. And I'm thinking that if you really want to make this work as the food scrap program, either don't charge anything at all or charge a little bit less. As our Board of Finance member calculated, it would be 4 pounds of scraps, and that's a lot. And yeah, you could probably fill up a bucket over several weeks, but who wants all that stuff in their condominium or in their house, or certainly not the garage where the bears and raccoons are gonna be coming in. I really suggest, you got a $42,000 grant, see if you can get the program started by not charging for it and get people to take it out of the stream of what's going in. It's a lot of work to separate out your garbage.
sure.
So, give some incentive, because I'm not really seeing this incentive except for maybe Thanksgiving and Christmas when you've got turkey carcass. Anyway, 2 cents.
Certainly. Actually,
No, no,
right,
it's
so they, okay,
Gabriela Hernandez, 114 Knollwood Drive. I'm definitely for the sustainable food scrap program. I don't really have any feelings about the sofa situation, so no comment on that. But in terms of, having a program where people can divert their waste, their food scraps, and at some point, hopefully be able to develop our own composting site here in town so that we can access it for landscaping throughout municipal buildings or for residents themselves to use however they see fit. I think that having these types of programs opens up a lot of opportunity for different people that may not have the time, the knowledge, the space to create that for themselves. And if somebody's willing and able to take the time, find an appropriate size bucket for their space and make the time to take it to the transfer station, I think it's something that the town should support. I also am for continued regional collaboration. I know that the transfer station and the HIRR have worked on that in the grant and everything. I know that the commissioners at the Sustainable Bethel Commission are definitely interested in helping and supporting the program grow and develop so that Bethel can continue to provide and sustain over time different programs and opportunities that the residents can take advantage of. Reducing the carbon footprint when we're, transferring all these things. Sure, is there so much so that, it cancels out driving to Richfield or having the compost stuff? Maybe not. But it's one of those efforts that helps the community of Bethel be thriving and modern and part of this world, part of this sort of local economy. And if the program develops in a way that makes it even more accessible and attainable for more people, maybe we'll see a shift in terms of how and where people are spending their, garbage removal. And with that and other potential grants, because, one grant may run out, but there are other funds available. It's certainly in the state of Connecticut, it's something that the state government is interested in promoting. So I think that there's always going to be, at minimum, interest and space for sustainable efforts to be funded. So hopefully that we can continue to provide such a program here in Bethel.
Thank you.
Got a question? Oh, go ahead.
You want to say something?
Yeah. Selectman Rich Straight from Southern Codfish Hill. I don't know if you need that barrier.
Thank you.
I'm in favor of the pilot program for the food scraps, but I have a little concern about the $35 for the sofas. Is that all bulk waste or just sofas?
That's just sofas. For other waste, they're going to charge 25 cents per pound, just as we do. But with the couches is good. It's the $25 to $35 sliding scale. And the idea is that when you get a sleeper sofa, that is probably going to be the upwards of 35.
All right,
Regular sofa maybe
so there
5.
is a sliding scale.
Right, $25 to $35 for couches.
My only concern about that
Yeah.
is, are we gonna see more couches along the side of the road? That's
Good
my
question.
concern.
You can
That's a
buy
good
a
answer.
couch actually in the Salvation Army for that amount of money. You can buy a couch in the Salvation Army for $35
Yeah.
or less, and even 25. So
Yeah,
for me, that's outrageous that amount of money to pay for.
And
a
if you wouldn't
couch.
mind, could you state your name and your address? for the
It's
record?
Emily Abel Tatis, and I live in Oak Tree Court in Bethel.
Okay.
For me, that's a really high, a
Well,
steep
yeah.
amount of money, because literally you
Sure.
can buy a couch for that amount of money.
Sure, understood. Thank you.
Excuse me. Can you repeat your last name, please, and your?
Abel, ABEL -T like tomato, A like apple, T like tomato, I like ice, and S like soup.
And your address is?
The number 8, Oak Tree Court.
Thank you.
That was my only concern.
Okay. Yeah.
The fee on that.
I think Billy Michaels had a
I
question.
have a question. This is this is to get the weight from organic waste out of that bin.
Right, so there's a couple things going on here. The food scrap part, setting that at $1, and to Mr. Beeble's point earlier. There were a lot of talk about whether we should do it free, whether we should charge, like. Right now, they arrived at $1 because I think they felt that the residents should have some skin in the game for getting rid of it. It does reduce, because remember, food scraps are the highest, or I should say, the heaviest part of municipal waste. They legitimately are the heaviest part. So if you're diverting it, you're probably playing around 10 cents a pound for your food scraps. That's what they believe when you charge $1 per bucket. Now, to Mr. Eagle's point,
Yeah.
you want to throw smaller buckets, well, you might have to look at a way to do that. And remember, this is just a hearing.
Yeah.
But this whole thing started because as a state of Connecticut, we're trying to keep as much waste as possible from going out of the state and us getting charged for it and put in landfills. That's what drove this food scrap program across the state. Judgment comment, because I know it's
When you're done.
okay. So that's the really the part of that. And then the second part is looking at getting rid of larger couches. So these are the two changes that we're looking for. And the reason we're doing this is because we're issuing transfer permits this month. And this is the opportunity for us to get this together before we put it out there. The Board of Selectmen has to vote on this after a public hearing.
To get rid of the organic waste.
Yes.
I don't know why they didn't include diapers and dog manure. I mean, that's what fills up dumpsters. I mean, when you look at, we're going, you
So
know,
where would you put that?
the state could figure something out, they're so smart. But I don't know why you're putting it in the dump, I don't know why you're sending diapers and dog manure to Pennsylvania. I mean, you can keep your food in your backyard, you keep your, but look at how much
Yeah.
dog feces are dumped in people's, put the dump, put it in the dump.
Sure.
With the dog park there in Beckhour, they've got that, where does that get emptied? The town owns that, right? The
Probably
dog-
gets emptied
there's a
in the-
dog
in the
park,
garbage like
put
it's
your
supposed
dog
to,
in
yeah.
a blue bag,
Yeah.
shorts, you put it in there.
Yeah. And it costs you 25 cents a pound to get rid of it. Yeah.
For that.
The user, Either whoever's throwing away the garbage pays 25
No,
cents a
but
pound.
doesn't the town
Yeah.
have one of those bins where people put your dog waste in?
I don't believe HRRA has any of those bins that I know of, but again, we're looking at the food scrap portion.
Well, we get to the dog.
Right,
I'm really
so
interested.
let's keep it back in context.
Yeah.
Look, we can talk about,
The
you know,
diapers are
yeah,
just
I
such a
understand.
pain.
Thank you. So actually, before we get over here, we actually had her hand up and then her and then.
So Nancy Ryan, 25 Walnut Hill Road. So on the food scrap program, it sounds like it's a pilot program.
Mhm.
There's room for changes and improvements, and so it's gonna be watched obviously by, is it Sustainable Bethel Commission?
Sustainable Health Commission and the Board of Selectmen,
Oh,
really.
Board of Selectmen, okay.
Yeah.
And you're saying that Ridgefield already has a composting program on site?
Yes, they do. They actually were able to get a grant to build the whole program, included a front loader. They got all their equipment from a different kind of grant, which we could compete for that down the road if we want to.
Yeah.
And I think the long-term goal would be to have something like that, because then we wouldn't have to pay to have our stuff carted off.
And it would be right there, would be working, because my whole bunch of family live up in Worcester, Mass, and they have amazing composting program there. You can bring leaves, you can bring food scraps, you can bring all
Yeah.
kinds of stuff. And they do the whole turning it over, and then at the end, there's people call it woo post, because Worcester is referred to as the woo, so it's woo post.
Yeah.
And you can go with your truck, or you can go with your car with a bucket in the back of it. Or 5 buckets or whatever, and fill them up and take it to your garden, and it's, I believe, free.
And the goal
So-
is for it to be free, eventually, the whole program. That's the
Right.
goal.
So that's gonna be. Board of Selectmen and Sustainable Bethel are gonna be monitoring that over next months or so and come up
Right.
with some sort of other.
I'm not sure the date, but it's in the spring when we're gonna have to make a decision of what we want to do with the program.
Right.
We could turn the whole thing off.
and
If
just
we feel it
stop
doesn't- and just stop.
It's not working. yeah,
And but
okay.
it would, but listen, residents are gonna save money. If there's a way we can figure out to do it and it's inexpensive. I think we're open to that.
I have to say, I think it's a great idea. I have compost pile in my backyard. I grew up with that. You know that. We all grew up with compost in our backyard, our mom's compost, et cetera. People used to look at me crazy when they come over to play and there'd be like coffee grounds in the backyard. Why is there garbage there? It's not garbage, it's a garden. However, in the wintertime, I don't have an active enough compost pile, so then I have to think, all right, am I just gonna go out there and dig a hole in the snow and put the compost in and just leave it? Or now I have this, and I can also do, bones and meat scraps and not just the more kind of vegetable food scraps. Because, like I said, you gotta know about compost and how active, et cetera. If your piles are gonna be active and really breaking stuff down, then I'm in to do it at least for the winter and see how it goes.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Tiffany Morgandale, 19 Avenue. So I think you should pay the people to bring it. Because I think you say skin in the game, it's like, I'm gonna get that dollar because I want to be a part of this and I'm thinking like maybe a family of 6, they could whip up a bucket of stuff like in a day. But if you're 2 people, one person, they're scraping their little scraps and then they have to open the bucket to put it in there. It just sounds so, I don't know, foul. But I understand the principle. I just want to say one thing about the sofa. Isn't there already for mattresses or bigger things, or isn't there already a set fee for like mattresses and stuff? What is that?
Yes,
They're free. It's really free,
your mattresses are free.
because they're recycled.
Bulky waste mattresses are free.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Remember with respect to garbage in general. If there is a way to get rid of it somewhere and somebody else can monetize it, it's a lot easier to get rid of it. And mattresses are one of those things can be recycled. in
Yeah.
bulk. Yeah. I think you were next.
If I wanted to speak on behalf of HRA, provide some information if you think it's appropriate.
Sure.
So, very briefly, the reason that the state of Connecticut is offering grants as a pilot program is because the state is suffering a waste crisis. Since the Mira plant shut down outside of Hartford, the state is generating close to 1 million tons of garbage that cannot be burned in the 4 remaining burn plants. So that's being shipped out of state to be landfilled. Landfilling is the least effective way to do it. It's the most expensive way to get rid of waste. And it is the second highest producer of greenhouse gases when this stuff is landfilled. Food scraps comprise on average 35% of the weight of municipal waste. So that alone, if the state shifted to composting food scraps, would completely wipe out the deficit that we have that's being shipped out of state. I've heard a concern, and again, speaking on behalf of HRA, a concern about the cost. The dollar that we pay to drop off our food scraps right now is paying for transportation. And the intent of the program regionally through HRA is to show what the demand could be to entice haulers who are profit driven to be able to pick this up and, basically make it a viable business. In the central part of the state, food scraps go to a gigantic facility in Southington called Quantum Biopower, where they operate a very large anaerobic digester. That digester produces enough methane to power a fuel cell on site that runs the entire complex. So it is completely carbon neutral. It takes food waste from major chains like, grocery store chains from Philadelphia all the way to Boston. And when you go to places like Home Depot and Lowe's and you buy compost in a green bag, most of that comes from Quantum Biopower, and it is a profitable business. That's the model. It is almost without a doubt going to be able to be reproduced as a profitable business on a regional basis as well. Probably the future would have maybe regional composting facilities like the one in Ridgefield, but it is definitely worthwhile. It's worthwhile for the environment. It's worthwhile to every family. And as I mentioned before, before some of the folks came in, my wife and I, as 2 semi-retired people, generate 1 full bucket a week, and that has reduced our cost out of pocket by, even including the dollar, by 35%. So it's a win-win-win all the way around. So I would urge people to not be worried about the future costs, because as this expands, those costs actually go down the scale. And one last comment, actually 2 comments. One, HRA and Deep are highly motivated to make sure that the barriers to success are reduced. So I don't see the town of Bethel or the town of Wilton, where we're running a similar program, ever abandoning this. I see it expanding and becoming profitable. And number 2, to the question that was raised, diapers and dog feces are not compostable. There's nothing you can do with them except bury them or burn them if the state does invest in new burn plants in the future. So, thank you very much for the opportunity.
And then we have Gabrielle was next.
I just have a,
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Gabrielle, I'm sorry.
I just have a clarifying comment or question really. To Nancy's point, the Sustainable Vessel Commission doesn't provide oversight because it is something that the town through the transfer station and Board of Selectmen and everything, did. So I just wanted to clarify, but certainly the commission is definitely interested in supporting and finding funds and making sure that we reach those funds whenever possible.
And we had one, I apologize, maybe next, we have Stuart online with a
No.
hand up. Oh, no, it's a mouse. That's outstanding. It looked like a hand and she pointed it out to me. I guess, okay, there you go.
That's fine.
I thought it was a raised hand, please.
Receptive to the online crowd. Yeah.
Brad Bowles, One Fair Child. I have a suggestion if you're looking to continue to get more usage on the food recycling program. Perhaps if people bring their own bucket, you have a separate lower price point, maybe 50 cents. And again, you might just do that for now through the end of the grant period. See if, according to Met, we're doing about 800 pounds a week, maybe, we target 1,200 pounds or whatever that you need to do to deem this successful. But if you didn't want to get more usage, you may need to come up with a way for folks to be able to use it at a slightly lower cost. So I would just suggest if they bring their own bucket, maybe it's 50.
Understood. Thank you. So any more comments regarding the transfer station? So basically, the next step is the Board of Selectmen will take this up at a future meeting. This is, of course, a public hearing, and so stay tuned for more information. We appreciate all your comments. And if there are no more comments, I will close the public hearing for the transfer station fees. Seeing none? Okay. The public hearing is closed for the transfer station fees.